Alright, so for this plant, let's go to another view. Let's just do shot 3, I think. Something like this. I think something like this should be okay. So the look that I kind of went after with this was sort of like this. I kind of liked the this kind of look of sort of the red shining through. I'm not sure if that's actually completely accurate for the thing we did here, but I do seem to see it in like the type of plant that we're going for, but I thought it looked fine and like I like the look of it. So let's make that. So we already have the stem material here. So let's just first on our resident plant, let's enable subdivisions. Let's not do that many, like 3. All right, and on our IPR, on our ROP, let's put it to camera 3. Let's just delete this. Let's press render. Oh, we could probably remove all of the other objects from this shot, so it takes a little bit less too long to load. That's actually not that bad. All right, so we probably also need to tweak the lights a little bit because I'm not sure with these lights. Let me just, for now, let's just leave this like this for now. Let's just first work on the material a little bit. So on the stem, first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the reflection up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some Fresnel. So if you don't know what Fresnel is let me just look at the Fresnel, let's reflection. So it's gonna depend on the angle of where you look at an object, how much is gonna reflect. So you can see it over here. So if you look at it straight up, it's not gonna reflect as much. If you look at it at an angle, then it's gonna reflect more. So Fresnel happens all over the place in real life. I'm trying to find a good reference for it, but you can see it here. So you can see here in the front, you don't see a lot of reflection, and the edges you do see a lot, which I also kind of want, because I want just the front part of the stem to just look nice and green reddish. And then the sides, I want them to be nicer reflective, so we get this rim light. So let's do a Fresnel. You can just type Fresnel, and then we can put on the reflection weight, put it in there. And I'm gonna turn off index of refraction. So by default, it sets with index of refraction, which is gonna use an index of refraction value to do this. So if you were to tweak that, you can see it, it's gonna do that, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna use the curve fall off. So then it's gonna like the fall off of the of the curve of the plant. Just do a render view a little bit, so you can already see it doing some stuff. It's already starting to look pretty nice over there. Probably a good way to sort of visualize this, maybe instead of doing it in reflection directly. Let's just first put it. Let's copy and paste one. Let's put it into surface. Surface color, and then let's change the colors. Say facing color green, perpendicular color red. All right, let's turn off this and let's just play with this angle. So now you can really see what's happening, right? So you see the green is the facing color, and then we have this sort of this fall off thing. So you can kind of tweak the look of this, bringing a little bit more of the red in. So this looks kind of cool. So let's put this back in here, and let's put our Fresnel. So not that one, just can put the curve fall off. Just put this curve fall off in here. Let's refresh this real quick. Right. So what I think I did in my original is also I did a multiplier and I just multiplied this value. Kind of boost that beyond actual natural reflections. Maybe that's a little bit too extreme, but right. So that's already looking pretty good. So let's also just change our color of our base a little bit. So I'm not that convinced with this color. Let's maybe just pick whip something from our. Okay, that's not working. It's just way too dark. Let's then just still do it with color, regular color thing. Something like that. Let's maybe do a little bit of roughness. Something like that. I'm not sure with this color. I just need to play around with this in order to get something that you like, but all right, so I guess maybe something like this. So it's still looking very plasticky, which is of course not really that great. So what we can do is we're going to go into subsurface, and on subsurface here I'm going to add sort of a reddish hue. So let's just and I'm gonna increase the amount and I'm gonna decrease the radius. I'm gonna put it to point base because it's just a lot faster. Let's just do bucket render. Let me just really quick in my original thing, just look at the values I have. So, okay, so a radius of 0.1. Let me just copy these values, this color. See also some other stuff that I did. Let me just, by the way, just copy these color values that I had before. So, and we're actually gonna match that. All right, I cannot seem to. Let's just copy this over. So now we can copy parameter and we can say paste values. Right. So that, and then let's say the color from the subsurface. Paste values. Radius scale 0.1. It will also depend on the scale of your scene, of course, because our scene is a little bit different scale. So I'm just gonna look through it a little bit. So we have maybe a little bit less. Let's just look at our base settings here. A little bit more roughness. That's looking better. I think we have a different scale, so maybe I think I need to increase my. Need to change my subsurface a little bit. Yeah, I think, okay, yeah. I think bringing this up a little bit works in its favor. Let's put this higher. And always with this shading, I always find it a little bit more difficult to explain because it's playing around also with values. I'm thinking something like this looks pretty decent. So the thing that we have here is we kind of want to blend these edges, right? So what I did in my original material is I have a round corners put in the bump. So what round corners does is it's going to look at, it's going to essentially round things. So if you have a box, like if you have a box and you bevel the edges, then it's going to round the edges a little bit, but it's going to do it in the shader. So if we do this on this thing, it's going to also do the same, but then it's going to do it also when the geometry intersects. So let's just do round corners. Let's put it in the bump input. Let's do a smaller radius. We don't want it to be too big. smaller. We really need a very small scale, I think, probably. I think even smaller. Yeah, so this seems to work quite well. So now you can see with the round edges, it's sort of blending these things here together. This looks quite nice. So let me just go back and forth between. I'm just gonna really quickly have a look at what my original material would look like if I put it on here, because our lighting setup and our scale was a little bit different. So I'm just gonna see if there's a big difference, because I think we matched it pretty okay. So I'm just gonna have a look here at the base. Oh no, not in the group. Okay, I'm gonna put this one in and then just press render and then see what it's gonna do. So this one is a little bit softer than what we had before. Just put that one in again. And also because of the scale is different. So I'm thinking we should probably do a little bit less of the reflections. Maybe I'm gonna put the color here on the Fresnel, because now it's saying that the angle, like, okay, so maybe what we should do is the facing color, maybe we should make the facing color a little bit gray. So then it's gonna reflect a little bit coming to it, and then maybe the perpendicular color, let's not have it completely reflect, so something like that. Let's do the roughness a little bit higher. Right, so that looks cool. Let's do a little bit more subsurface. You know what? Looks okay-ish. Gonna just really maybe do this one a little bit higher, and then we're just gonna move along. But I think you kind of get the gist, right, of what we're doing here. But you need to just play around with these values in order to get the look that you want. And we're gonna still maybe tweak the lights a little bit. Maybe we can try to do a little bit of that right now. Let's just do let's see what happens if we increase the key light. Right, so that's already looks pretty cool. Let's just say 20. No. What am I doing? Let's say 270. I think this looks pretty good. So let's do something like that. Let's go on our leaves. So we have the blend pinnariols. Right, so with the leaves, I found out a couple of things which we probably need to change. We're gonna do that at a sort of a more base level. What we're gonna do is maybe, because I want to keep the leaves kind of packed, because in my original I unpacked them, but it was just slower in the viewport. But in order to assign the material to the stem here, we probably want to do it inside of our actual leaf. So let's go into our leaf here. Let's assign some materials in here, because if we just do it in here, so that's going to be before we write out the alembic. So let's put our material in there, and let's put it to, let's go over here. So we should have groups here. Yeah, leaf and stem. So I'm going to say on the leaf, then I'm going to put the leaf material, and I'm going to grab the, I had already done a previous recording where I removed the material here, but I'm going to put the plant pinnariols here, and I'm going to put it here. So this is going to be a leaf texture. I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to do another assignment. That's going to be the stem. I'm going to do it on the stem. I'm going to real quick put my update to manual. I'm going to save it out. So now we have the material embedded in the leaf. And now let's write out our plant here again. Because before it wasn't properly assigning the material on our stem or our leaf. So because what you see, like we don't have the proper stem here, right? What it was doing was assigning the leaf material to the stem, which we don't want. But right now, I think if we plus render, it should work a little bit better. Yeah, so now you can see we actually get the stem material on here. So that's the nice green material. And now we also overwritten our material on our leaf because it was still grabbing our material from this subnetwork, because it was also embedded in here. But now I think it should also work with this one. So let me just double check this by disabling the IPR here, and let's just decrease the weight here. So yeah, that seems to work. So now we can do some more work on the actual leaf itself. So maybe some stuff that we want to do is also add some subsurface on there with a small radius. Let's just add a little bit of green. Let's just do bucket render because we don't really see subsurface point based, at least. Let's put it to point based because right now it's super noisy. Yeah, so yeah, you can already see it like completely, like really filling up. I'm not sure if I'm liking that green. So that looks cool. Maybe also what we want to do, I don't think I did that in my original, but maybe add some Fresnel. Maybe you want to multiply the... So maybe we want to add some Fresnel just to our leaves, to our specular. We just have a look at my base material. So it was set to 0.7. Let's just see how that looks, but if that actually looks any good. I'm not sure if I'm digging this. Let's do facing color, also a little bit of reflection. I don't think I'm digging this. Just gonna remove that. Whatever, I thought maybe it would look good, but you know, something like this, actually I'm kinda liking the way it looks now with the leaves. Maybe let's just increase the reflection a little bit. This looks quite nice. So I'm thinking plant looks quite cool. You just see what it looks like in like a wider shot. Let's just do our IPR to the wide shot. Render. It's quite okay. I think we should probably change the key lighting back to be a little bit lower. Oh, it's doing the thing again, right? 200. That's looking quite okay. So kind of liking this. Let's just go back to our first camera. And then we can just go through a couple of frames and just maybe tweak our materials a little bit more. Oh, and we also need to add our little dirt particles in here. We haven't assigned the material to them yet. Probably need to start doing that. And I'm just going to really quickly also copy paste over my original composed material. just to see what it looks like in our current setting, because I'm feeling it looks just a little bit different. Also in compositing, by the way, I took off the specular, so it does look different anyway in my final render, but I'm just gonna real quickly assign my original composed. So it's gonna be this thing, composed. Oh, not on, no, not that one. On the dirt, let's just see what that looks like. I also just kind of got the feeling that it's just not something not completely correct with it, but let's just see what it looks like right now. I feel I got way too much fill here as well, or just maybe just too much HDRI. Let's turn down the HDRI. Just make the lighting a little bit more interesting. Let's turn off all of our lights. Okay, so actually this plant of this spot that we have here, it was actually not the correct one. I ended up swapping it out in my original, and I've kind of put in the wrong one during this tutorial, so I'm going to replace at the beginning as well. But because this one seems to have some weird UV issue, which I couldn't really figure out why that's happening. But this one doesn't have that, so I'm just going to swap that out. So let's just put it in here. And you should already have the correct one, because I should have already corrected this in the earlier video, but just so you know that this is where I discovered that mistake. So I'm just going to put it here, and I'm just going to move it down. Just going to move this to... Gonna have this go to axis align, right? I'm gonna make it smaller. Right, and I'm gonna grab this one, and I'm gonna put, for the terms of collisions, it really doesn't matter that much, because it's a round thing anyway, so it shouldn't really matter that much. So I'm just gonna go in there. It's also what I ended up doing with my original. So I'm just gonna also grab this material, just assign it here to the jar. All right, let's just see what this looks like. Because I'm honestly not sure. Like I bought a couple of jars, and this one just had a had this weird issue. Maybe I should report it to Megascans or something. But yeah, okay, so that's looking a lot better. So I'm still not digging the mud too much. Thinking maybe I should change the mud a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more subdivision, a bit more displacement. Gonna see which one did I have assigned. Oh, that's not the triplanar one. Should have that one. See what this looks like. I mean, pretty okay. You can tweak it in compositing and like grade it down a little bit, but I guess for this it seems fine. I'm gonna move it down a little bit, I think. I'm gonna move the jar up a little bit maybe. Go into the jar. I'm gonna move this up just a tiny bit. Or like that, right? So these grain pieces here aren't really rendering properly still. Let's just put this in here. Let's just make a base material. Just see if they're actually, because we're displacing the mud up. So it might also be that we need to move these up a little bit, because let's just assign a red material to our grains. Because it might be that they're now being just pushed under the surface. So I'm just going to put this one in here. No, not in there. In here. Boop. Just having a quick look what it looks like. Should be a white material on them now, but I think I need to push them up a little bit. Make them red, easy to see. Right, so you can see they're now under the surface, so there's something not great there. So I'm gonna say with these are your grains, to not be into this object. So we can use transforms here. Just move it up a little bit. So we're just making sure that it's because the displacement is just, it's being pushed up, right, from the dirt. So we need to make sure that at least our dirt particles aren't completely under the surface. Right, now you can see them, see the head popping up. All right. 5, too much. 3. Right, so that works. So now let's just assign our compost again. Let's turn this off and let's just enable tessellation, enable displacement. Let's turn off the subdivisions and let's really bring down the amount of displacement that these can do. So these are being displaced way too much. You can see them completely bulging out. Right, so for the most part, I have everything set up now. There's a couple of things that we need to do. I mean, all of the materials are assigned. What we need to do now is we need to make 3 ROPs with all of our shots configured. And then we need to add our AUVs, because if you want to composite this, we're not going to composite during this tutorial, but if you want to composite this, of course, you're probably going to want some type of AUVs. Just going to go over a couple of render settings, and then we're going to render it.